Kevin Zay. Is it normal for coworkers who are also members of groups like Scientology or Jehovah's Witnesses to think they are better than you or have a big persecution complex? I've dealt with coworkers from both groups. A few have been fired for various reasons out of my control. One I saw outside of work and they tried to blame me for being let go. Another one actually sent a letter to me through the company blaming me for their firing and calling me a racist, bigoted Nazi. Okay, so this is a great example of the us versus them mentality that I'm constantly harping on, and the black and white thinking that cult members tend to drift towards or embrace as a way of looking at the world. One of the things about being a member of a destructive cult is that the worldview of a cult member is a very simple one. And that is something that, of course, the cult leader wants the person to be thinking. They don't want people with nuanced thinking. They don't want people who are really, able to put everything together at every level and that sort of thing. What they want is they want people who are going to parrot back what the cult leader is saying, what the cult leader intends, and are going to just accept it. And that this is truth, this is ultimate truth, this is the most important truth there is. That is a very, very inherent part of the sacred knowledge and secret lore that cult members or cult leaders pass on. And they embrace this knowledge and they take it as though it is, well, gospel. So, and this is not just in a religious sense, this is also in non-religious cults. Same drill, right? So, what you see then is a person who has a whole part of their life that to them is raised on a dais. It's more important. It is of senior validity, again, truth, and therefore of senior importance to them. And everything they see in their life filters through this. A destructive cult is not a part-time activity. Being a cult member is not a part-time thing that you do. Not when you really embraced it and you're really all in. And to a degree, I could even say there are Scientologists who call themselves Scientologists who are barely cult members because they're barely attending Scientology and they barely give it any credence or importance. On the other hand, there are most Scientologists who go all in on it, right? And same with Jehovah's Witnesses. They demand absolute loyalty and absolute commitment and dedication. And they demand that this belief system or this set of ideas trump everything else in the person's life. So, of course, this is going to affect their professional relationships and their ability to even do their job. Because of the filtering, right? Because of all the biases and things that are set up and because of the way they look at other people and the way they interact with them. And the thing about cult members, when you interact with them socially or whatever, is that they tend to not have a very good ability to put filters in place on that stuff. They say inappropriate things, or they're certainly thinking inappropriate things about you, about other people around them. Like Scientologists, for example, they actually think in words to themselves when they look around at other people in the office. Let's say it's a coworker. They look around at other people there with the idea that all these people are more ignorant, stupid, uninformed, aberrated. That's the word that they use in Scientology for unable to think clearly or rationally. And this is all summed up by this word wog, which is I understand it's a racial epithet, but that's not how I'm using it. I'm using it in the Scientology sense. And in that sense, it's a slur, but it's not a racial slur. It's a slur against everybody who is not a Scientologist. And this is the kind of language, this us versus them language, that develops. You see it in politics with the MAGAs and the libtards you see it all over the place. This language is not exclusive to religions or cults. But when you see it being used in this extreme way, then you start thinking, something culty going on there. And you'd be right, because language is very, very powerful and is used exactly for that purpose of thought reform. So, So yeah, they do think they're better than everybody else around them who are not part of their in group. They have been carefully indoctrinated to think that. It's not an accident. And it's not even something you'd want to put on them completely, at least. I mean, sure, but, a person is responsible for how they think and act, but when you are at the receiving end of coercive persuasion, when you're at the receiving end of coercive control, then it's not all on you, and you're dealing with people who have been grossly and repeatedly lied to and have been worked over very, very hard to get them into this in group mentality, which I'm sure you get. So, anyway, so that's the deal with that. Yes, they do think they're better than you, without question. They absolutely think that. Every single cult member does. That's a defining characteristic of being a cult member, is that you fall out of parity or affinity with the rest of the people around you. And this is one of the things that drives people crazy about cult members, by the way, is that you can't help but get that sort of flow from them, for lack of better terminology right now, right? When they're talking to you, you get this sort of arrogance or this condescension or conceit. And it's bad. And the deeper they go in, the more, that is there. But the more successful they are in life, the better able they are to hide that condescension or arrogance. But it will come out. And especially in times of stress or trauma, like getting fired from your job, then it's going to come out really hard, right? And they're going to blame you. They're going to blame the boss. They're going to blame the company. They're going to blame everybody but themselves. So there you go.